Thank you. Actually, can I ask you all to stand up and have a little dance with me, because we've just had a big lunch. Thank you. Okay, do what you want. Go crazy. This is one of my favorite songs. It's a Jessie J song, and of course, it's about money. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for dancing with me. So yeah, it's not about the money. Well, in some cases it is. When you have 90% of UK adults who've never been exposed to any form of financial education, it is about the money. And when you have total personal debt in the UK currently standing at 1.5 trillion, that's more than GDP. It is about the money. And do you know that by the time I finish this talk, 10 people in the UK will have been declared bankrupt or insolvent. And that will happen again and again every 10 minutes. But let me ask you guys in here, who has an ISA account? Yeah, not too many, huh? A few of you. Okay, these ISA accounts, individual saving accounts, supposedly high interest, although we don't really think there's much out there with a high interest at the moment, maybe an apple tree. So in a recent survey, 16 to 24-year-olds were asked what an ISA was. And surprisingly, 15% of them thought it was an iPod accessory. And another 50% of them thought it was an energy drink. The really sad fact, though, is that if you ask young people what their biggest fear is, 48% of them will say that debt is their biggest fear, above arachnophobia, above fear of heights. I have spent, in the last 5 years, I would say I've spent a lot of my time, and my husband would probably say most of my time, working with young people, helping them to develop the knowledge, the skills, and the confidence to effectively manage their money. And I want to show you this to start off with. So here we have some young people queuing. Now, I know there are young people in the audience. I was very happy to see them earlier. Why do young people queue? If I think back to when I was young, I would queue for two things: anything that was food-related and anything that was free. But these amazing young people are queuing to do something else. They're queuing to save their money. They're queuing to deposit their pennies, their pounds. And they do this every week. And they do really cool things. Like they think, if I save 65p, which is the amount I usually spend on a bag of crisps every day, by the time I get to the third term, I'll be able to get myself a kind of mid-of-the-range laptop, which is highly functional. And I think that that's very intelligent of them. Moving on to my next slide a little too quickly. Okay, so the reason I put this slide up is because I often ask myself, in witnessing these young people save weekly, why do they do it? What motivates them to queue and to save every week? And in analyzing behavioral change from non-savers to savers, we realized that the peer factor is truly important. And let me bring that to life for you. So this picture is, if I visualize what a typical banker looks like, I don't know why, but for some reason I get Bob. I don't know who comes up in your mind. But the bankers I work with look a little different, and here's what they look like. The youngest I've been lucky enough to work with is Dante. He's 11 years old, but he doesn't like being photographed, so you won't see him up there. Now, I think in a world where hopefully we will all live till at least 100, 120, where we will all need pensions to sustain ourselves over time, and in a country where we have 26% of Britons who have no savings whatsoever, people like Dante, these kind of bankers and these kind of savers will play a significant role in our collective future. But that's not what it's only about. It's not only about behavioral change, it's also about financial education. And I know that if you start financial education from a young age, by the time you're 30, you're likely to earn £32,000 more. And that's a good deposit on your first home. So that's one step up on the property ladder. I have a few more minutes left with you. And instead of telling you what financial education is, I thought we could practice a few little tricks. I thought I could really to show you what I do when I'm out there in schools and youth groups and youth prisons with young people. So here we go. One thing that often comes my way are young people who say, you know, Lily, I took out a loan from a payday lender a few months ago. It was about a £70 loan, and today I find myself having to pay back £900. And I say, right, do you know what APR is? And they're like, no. And actually, can I ask you guys, do you know what APR is? Some of you. Okay, quick activity. APR versus AER. These are two terms that I think we should all know. If you ever want to know just two terms in that massive, vast amount of financial jargon, remember these, because they're important for all of us. So let's start with APR. Don't worry too much about annual percentage rate. It sounds really intimidating. You just need to know, remember the middle letter, the P. The P stands for pay for borrowing. The annual percentage rate is everything you pay for borrowing. So my question to you is, do you want that to be high or low? Low as can go, right? Because that is money coming out of your pocket. AER, again, focus on the middle letter, E for earn. What you earn for saving. Do you want that to be high or low? Yeah, as high as can be, right? Because that is money you are bringing into your pocket. Two important terms. Now let's pretend we're about to go to university. This, coincidentally, is the one time in our lives when most of us start to get into debt because of overdrafts, overspending, credit cards, etc., etc. So we do a lot of work with young people thinking of going to uni or preparing to go to uni. So let's play a quiz. Here we go. People that budget regularly make average savings of how much a year? A, 500 a year, B, 950 a year, C, 1,200 pounds a year, or D, 1,500 pounds a year. Who thinks it's B? Put your hand up. Okay. In fact, we are wrong. It is D. That's by spending just 30 minutes a month reviewing their spending. So that's pretty good. In 3 years, you could have 4,500 pounds. That's a nice amount of money saved. Other things we look at is smart spending. So really basic things. What is the favorite UK student meal according to recent research? Beans on toast, stir fry, pizza, curry. Who thinks, scream out what you think. Wow. We've got an absolute mixture of everything there. Pizza it is. So 3 pizzas a week, if you were to take those away, you'd spend over 1,400 pounds a year. But then if you were to get those from the supermarket, you spend 560 pounds. So these are little easy tips, tips for spending, tips for saving, tips for managing your money. But there are really important decisions that we have to make when managing our money, and decisions we have to make around money. And one of the first ones we have to make is where to open our first bank account. And this is one that I work with a lot on young people. And it makes me very happy to see that young people we work with take their first decision around money very seriously as shopping around for their first pair of trainers. You know, those amazing Adidas trainers or Nike trainers. They put the same level of commitment into shopping around for their first bank account. So what do? And this is a conversation I witness regularly. Go into a bank and say, right, I'd like to open a savings account with you, but first of all, I want to ask you, what is your ethical policy? At that point, the cashier tends to look really perplexed. A look of confusion overcomes them. And the young person makes it a bit easier by saying, right, so if I put my savings in your bank, what are you going to do with them? Where will they be invested? In what soil? In what soul? In what society, right? How is my money going to be invested into this world to make it better or worse? And gosh, those are deep questions. Those are certainly not the kind of questions I was asking when I was 16. So ladies and gentlemen, what I want to leave you with is that whether these young people are running their own banks, different types of banks, or whether they're saving on their own terms, or whether they're making decisions about their money that affect us all, I think they're leading us by example, and I think they represent a spark of hope for all of us, because they will make their long-term and our long-term more sustainable. And I want to leave you with one quote from one of my favorite bankers, Mandeep. He says, "I work in a bank and I help people save. It's not all about chicken and chips. You can work towards something." Thank you very much.